Hello, my name is Emile Servan-Schreiber. As Hélène said earlier, I'm the founder of News Futures. I'm also a cognitive psychologist. I studied with Herb Simon at Carnegie Mellon in the 90s. And my fascination with collective intelligence comes from a fascination with the workings of the mind itself. I think it's important when we talk about collective intelligence that we remember there is no intelligence that is not collective, in the sense that the brain itself is the collective effort of 10 billion little things that are not themselves very smart individually. So there is no intelligence that is not collective. I'm going to be talking about prediction markets. Prediction markets are one application of collective intelligence that are truly starting to make an impact in the business world and also in the media. I think it's very interesting that the idea of collective intelligence is not something that's just in the labs, but something that's actually making a real difference every day now. In the US, it's very striking. There's not 1 week that passes without 10 articles about prediction markets, about the election, for example, or about their applications in business. So we'll talk about that. Very quickly, for those who don't know what a prediction market is, this is an example. Interestingly, this is an example from last March, or actually the end of March. This is the stock for Obama to win the Democratic nomination. And this is a stock that you see the stock they're trading from March 2006 to March 2007 to March 2008. And the stock is going to be valued at $1 if Obama gets the nomination, and today he's apparently very close to that, or it's going to be worth $0 if he doesn't. Okay, so in the meantime, the trading price, and you have people buying and selling this just like they would buy or sell, the stock of Boeing or Amazon or whatever. The stock price, which was at the end of March 81. Is exactly calibrated to mean the percentage chance that the event happens in the future. Okay, and we'll see data that shows that this calibration is very, very fine. So the other interesting thing here is that, as you see, at the end of March, Obama was already being given, actually at the beginning of March, you can see Obama was given as the winner by the collective intelligence of the traders, even though the media, if you just read the paper, you have the impression that Clinton still had a chance for a long time. Actually, she had 1 chance in 5, actually, but very small chance. It wasn't really a very close race, and people collectively knew that, even though the media, your major information source, has a bias to report something entirely different, which is a horse race, right? So that's why a lot of people now are turning to prediction markets to really know what's going on rather than reading the New York Times. Right? Not to say anything bad about the American press, which is way better than the French press. So this is an example of calibration of the price being a true reflection of the probability of events in the future. This is an example from a study we made with Justin Wolfers at Wharton, comparing real money and play money markets, but also looking at with 2,000 sports fans trading on sports games, basically football games, more than 200 football games over 6 months. And every time we would look at the price of the stock for who's going to be the winner right before the game, and so we can assess, is the market well calibrated? And you see here on the x-axis the trading price before the game, and on the y-axis the actual observed frequency of the winners. And so if it falls on the diagonal, it means the price really is a good indicator of the probability. And as you see, it works quite well, whether it's real money or play money, actually. And that's very important. There are many other different kinds of motivations for people in the world than just money. And the economists who study these things tend to forget that a little bit. This is also an example of calibration, but this time in a completely different set of events, which is business events. This is the result of a study made at Google over a couple of years on more than 150 different kinds of events of, are we going to be able to deliver this product on time? Are we going to meet the deadline? How many bugs are we going to find in this particular tool? Is it going to be a success? All kinds of interesting business events within Google. And as you see, the purple line, which is the data set of the prices, actually follows diagonal quite closely as well. And a final example of calibration is within the political arena. The Iowa electronic market, operated from the Iowa Business School, with a very small sample of people and very small stakes of money, has been very successful for the last at least almost 20 years now of data. This is data for 50 elections, 239 different political stocks, showing that the actual price really predicts the vote share. Not the probability of victory so much here as the vote share itself. So when the price says 56 cents on the dollar, it really means that the candidate is going to get very close to 56% of the vote. Okay, so you can use these things, these markets, as not only to predict probability for events in the future, but also to predict actual numbers that you can compare to the real numbers. Just to give you a data point on this, as it says here, for example, I can't see the little red squares. The red squares are the presidential elections, and they're extremely well calibrated. The average error for the presidential election predictions with the Iowa market has been 1.33%, and that's compared to almost 6% for the average of polls. So the market is really doing a much better job than the polls are. That's true in the US. It's not so much true in Europe, where the polls are much better than in the US. In the US, they have different problems with polls. Yeah.
They're not properly adjusted.
Exactly. They don't apply these weird Coca-Cola formulas to them. Yeah. But still, yes, I mean, you can have polls that are at least as good or better than markets. That's for sure. And that's especially true in Europe, where we find that very much. But as a reader of news in the US, you're inundated by polls from CNN, Gallup, whatever. Who should you turn to? That's the question. Practically, who should you turn to get your real information? And that's not the CNN poll or the Gallup poll. That's the prediction market. So what we find, and I'm not going to go into too much detail because we really don't have much time, but what we find, and we and others, of course, is that markets, whenever we compare them to anything else, any other way of making predictions about the future, are really the best alternative. So they are better than asking individual experts. And we have business people telling us, your solution is so much better than asking a consultant. Because why? Because the individual experts offer no diversity, and they offer a lot of biases. They're better than opinion polls, as we saw, partly because opinion polls, when they're not corrected, really don't offer any reward for expertise of individual opinions, and they don't penalize the fools, those who answer without having any idea, and they don't ponderate. The knowledgeable people, they don't give them more of a voice than people who really don't know anything. And finally, they're better than official company forecast within firms. And that's really the easy part, because those things are just worthless. It's completely political. Nobody inside a firm usually wants to really know the truth. They just want to set targets. So it's actually very interesting, very easy to beat the official company forecast.